If you've seen my Psycho review, you would know that it's perfect. Perfecto. It cannot be topped. But how good is Psycho 2 in comparison to that? I'm in Salad and I saw Psycho 2. It is directed by Richard Franklin, written by Tom Holland, and if you haven't seen this movie, I will spoil it for you. This movie takes place 20 years after the first Psycho, after Norman Bates is in that insane asylum, or I forget what he gets placed in, but he's being released, and there's this chick who is the sister of his last murder victim, Marion Crane. Her name is Lila. She's like, no, I don't want him to get out. He's psychotic. He's just going to murder again. So he moves back into his old house, you know, where he and his mother lived, where he turned out that his mother was a figment of his own imagination because his mother's been dead for a lot of years, many, many years, okay? I don't know how many years, but more than 20 at least. And so he lives now there. He's just there. He's like, oh, I'm having a grand old time. I make sandwiches for myself. Woo-hoo-hoo, doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. So there's a hotel, the Bates Motel. It's being ran by some guy, and it looks like business is popping. What's interesting about this dude is he's doing hourly rates instead of nightly rates. It's basically a hotel where you can have sex with hookers at. And he's also selling drugs there. You know, stuff that might normally be shady, but if you're at the Bates Motel where people were literally murdered at, it's not so bad in comparison. But Norman's finding out how this guy makes money, and he's like, you're fired. And properly, this dude is like, bro, you murdered people. You do not get to be on your high horse about how I'm selling drugs. Okay? I'm just here to make sure that the hotel bills get paid. I'm like, yeah, you got a point there. He should not be on his high horse. But what's interesting is he also gets a job at the, what is it called? The restaurant. And they're nice restaurant people. They don't really know him, it seems. Or at least if they do, they're not at all mentioning what he's done in the past. And so he's just learning his way around the nice little restaurant, all that fun jazz. But then he starts to hallucinate stuff. Like, he got notes from his mother or something, and he's like looking at these notes, and they're not there. Nothing that he sees on the notes is written on the notes. It's just a regular note. But because he freaks out when he sees, oh my goodness, somebody's trying to pretend to be my freaking mother and to try to scare me, a freaking nice restaurant man, his hand gets burned. I'm like, man, that sucks. When you're older, it takes so much time for your skin to heal. I'm freaking 23 years old, and I have a tan from July still, and it's October. If I get a tan when I'm like 54, it's never going away. So I imagine this is terrible. I would be so mad if I were the restaurant owner. But then he just like runs out. And then there's this coworker chick. She having some relationship issues. Her boyfriend kicked her out and she has nowhere to stay. But Norman's so nice. He's like, how about you stay at my place? And then they stay at his place. The interesting about this interaction is that weird stuff starts to happen more and more. Like, for example, his frickin' mother's room, very much not at all decored. He walks in, very decored. And then when she gets there, not decored at all. It's pretty wild. Also, somebody ends up locking him in the attic during like a murder that happens of these kids in the fruit cellar. And then he's the main suspect. He's like, I was in the attic. And the chick there is like, yeah, he wasn't the guy who did it. And I'm like, why does she know that, right? And then more and more stuff happens that man, the former guy who's running the hotel, that guy, he gets stabbed. And it's like, oh, maybe Norman Bates is dressing up like his mother again. But how do you explain the person who died in the fruit cellar. It all comes to a head. They're trying to make him more insane. Who is they? This chick and also Lila Crane. This chick turns out to be Lila Crane's daughter, so it would essentially be this lady now living with Norman is the niece of his last victim. So that's how the family tree goes. And they're trying to make him go crazy. And guess what? It's working. He's doing all sorts of crazy things, and you know what happens? They both end up dying. Murdered. Yeah. And then, you know, you gotta hide the body somewhere. Hide it in the coals. But he actually goes away at the end. He goes free at the end. Which I find to be pretty interesting, because I was really, what's the proper word? I was engaged the entire time. I was interested in the entire thing. But I wouldn't say I was so enthralled by the movie watching experience, so I'd give it like a solid 10 out of 10 like I did the last movie. Because Psycho, that's classic. Oh boy. Some of the nice shots that they use, I like how it feels like a play, but less so than the first one. The first one just feels like I'm there and I'm watching something in real life happening in front of my eyes, but also nice little camera movement. This one is pretty fun. Like, I like the twist where instead of Norman being a murderer, even though he's been doing the murders in the movie, it's not framed on him like these women were trying to get him to turn crazy again. But instead, they get implicated. And it's wild. It's interesting how fast they dismiss this case. I'm like, you guys aren't going to look at Norman Bates at all? What about, like, these dudes stuffed into truck like the last movie and dumped into the swamp water behind the property? What about that? It's the same MO and everything. And he's now hallucinating that his mother is there. And it's showing that they're changing in order to look like his mother. But not really, because he's doing it too. Or at least that's what I think. It's not shown on screen. But it is shown, like, after that they're gone and they're taken care of. There is the freaking mother in the window, just at the last shot, just peeking out. And I'm like, yeah, he's hallucinating his mother again. You guys were very successful in making him go crazy. You guys did it, hooray, hurrah, but now he's free. I think it's Lila's daughter dies. And then also, Lila is now implicated in some murders. And she gets arrested, and he's free. And they're like, yeah, you're just trying to make him go insane, so you dressed up as his mom. And they're trying to murder him and such like that. They're so stuck on the past, they are. Nice twist, I guess, but like nothing so freaking spectacular as the last movie. I mean, I like the shots, I like it being colorized. I just really like the last movie. Definitely holds up. This one's a good one. I'm excited to see what they do with the other psychos. There has to be more psychos. This can't be the only one. So, I gotta give this one, I don't know, it's a 7. 7 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another on the platform you like. Set $20 Dino. It's patreon.com/ASEPresents for 1 movie review per 1 month. Go to this link tree to support the daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews. So you can go here. And until next time, mint salad sauce. See you later, my sour croutons and bacon bits. Since Norman is free, I'm going to go find him. Goodbye.